All right, let's get the systems online and dive right into this. Welcome to the testing laboratory. I am your lead Cambridge curriculum auditor, and today we are booting up a high-stakes, myth-busting explainer session. We are taking on literally one of the most notoriously volatile topics in the entire Cambridge Accounting 9706 syllabus, standard costing, specifically focusing on direct material price and usage variances. Look, year after year, so many candidates walk into this exam completely relying on viral online study hacks, bad revision assumptions, and these supposed shortcut templates, only to watch their final grades absolutely plummet. It happens all the time. So today, we're putting a stop to it. We are going to stress test those online study lies live against the official Cambridge Examiner reports. We are stripping away the fake shortcuts, throwing out the bad advice, and replacing it all with a bulletproof structural strategy so you can lock in maximum marks when it actually counts. So strap in and let's power up these diagnostic consoles.
Right off the bat, I want you to listen to this direct quote pulled straight from a senior examiner's report. They ask, why do students find evaluating evidence and drawing conclusions so hard? It's a fantastic question, right? Because here's the thing. Most students think standard costing is purely a mathematical exercise. You punch the numbers into a calculator, you find the variance, you label it favorable or adverse, you double underline that final number, and boom, you expect full marks. Well, guess what? That is the absolute first major lie we are busting today. The reality is that the math, it's just your entry ticket. The highest tariff marks in this paper are locked firmly behind your ability to actually evaluate the evidence and draw a logical conclusion. Why did the direct material price drop? Did the purchasing manager go out and buy substandard cheap materials? And if they did, how exactly did that cause a massive adverse usage variance on the factory floor? It's never just about the raw numbers. It is entirely about the narrative behind the numbers.
So, to get you there, here is our tactical flight path for today's session. We'll start with the standard costing trap, then lay down the theoretical foundations, move into the execution framework, analyze some critical examiner warnings, and finally, build your evaluative strategy.
Let's kick things off with Phase 1, the standard costing trap.
All right, we are transitioning deeper into the lab to expose our first major myth. I like to call this one the volume over value trap. There is this incredibly stubborn piece of viral study advice floating around out there that claims if you just write more pages, you automatically get more marks. It basically suggests that if you hit a wall and don't know the exact answer, you should just dump every standard costing definition you have ever memorized onto the page and hope the examiner takes pity on you. Let's run a live stress test on that theory right now. I'm looking over at our simulation console, and we've got a hypothetical student loaded up. Let's call him Tester Alex. Alex is a firm believer in this myth. He's relying on what we call superficial breadth. So the prompt hits his screen, and Alex just starts furiously typing. He writes 3 solid pages of generic standard costing definitions. He defines what a variance is, he lists out every formula in the textbook, he pastes in this pre-memorized essay template he found on a forum, and he packs the whole thing with massive, impressive-sounding vocabulary words. But here's the fatal flaw. He never actually answers the prompt. The examiner's mark scheme instantly rejects this entire block of text. 0 marks. On the flip side of the screen, we have analytical depth. This is the actual academic benchmark that Cambridge examiners are looking for. They don't want pages of rambling jargon. They want structured, logical reasoning that directly dissects the specific materials, prices, and factory conditions presented in that specific exam paper. Unstructured page dumping doesn't just waste your time. It triggers an immediate marking penalty because it shows the examiner you don't actually know what's going on.
This brings us to a concept you absolutely have to internalize: the method mark strategy. In Cambridge Accounting 9706, the mark scheme isn't just a list of right answers. It is a rigid, highly calibrated matrix. Points are won by proving the structural physics of your answer. Let me explain what I mean by that. If you just magically write down an adverse material usage variance of $5,000 at the bottom of the page without showing exactly how you derive the standard quantity versus the actual quantity, you forfeit the method marks. The examiners are acting as auditors of your process. They demand to see your systematic analysis completely visible on the page. How did you get from point A to point B? Your structural logic, your step-by-step workings, that is your academic defense network. Without it, your answer completely collapses under scrutiny.
Moving right along, let's hit Phase 2, theoretical foundations and logic.
Okay, so the conceptual framework of standard costing relies entirely on a few established principles, and we need to strip away the myths to see them clearly. First, you need systematic analysis. You can't just look at a total direct material variance. You have to break it down into its core subcomponents, the price variance and the usage variance.
Next is evidence-based reasoning. This is crucial. You have to comb through the exam stimulus to find actual proof. Say the actual price paid for materials was lower than the standard price. Why? Was there a bulk discount? Did supplier prices drop globally? You have to find the evidence. Then you must have a logical progression from your data extraction all the way to your final evaluative conclusion. And finally, an absolute avoidance of superficiality. Listen, if your conclusion is literally just the variance is adverse because costs went up, I guarantee your answer will shatter under examiner stress testing. It's a tautology, it means nothing. You must prove exactly why the cost went up, using the specific parameters given in the scenario.
Now we are getting to the good stuff. Phase 3, the procedural execution framework.
I want you to mentally lock in this strict 6-step procedural blueprint. It is your unshakable top-band diagnostic tool. To see why this matters, let's look at another simulation in the lab. Meet tester Sam. Sam is a fast writer, highly caffeinated, and he thinks he can beat the clock by skipping straight to step 4. He sees numbers, panics, and immediately tries to execute mathematical notation before he's even deconstructed the question. The result? He calculates a beautiful, mathematically perfect price variance. The problem? The command word explicitly asked him to evaluate the causes of the usage variance. Sam just wasted 10 minutes for 0 marks. Don't be like Sam. Here is the framework. Step 1, deconstruct the question and underline the exact command word. Step 2, extract the exact standard and actual quantities and prices from the noise of the paper. Step 3, select your standard costing framework. Step 4, execute with crystal clear mathematical notation. Step 5, verify your mathematical results against the qualitative data. Does the math actually match the story in the text? And finally, Step 6, present your findings using precise, professional accounting terminology. This blueprint is exactly how you go from a terrifyingly blank page to a fully verified, top-tier professional response.
Let's actually perform a live data matrix sweep right now so you can see Step 5 in action. When you open your exam paper, you are going to be hit with mixed stimulus types. You'll see quantitative tables packed with numerical data sitting right next to qualitative text blocks that detail operational changes in the factory. The magic happens when you interpret the relationships between these two. For example, let's say the table shows a highly favorable direct material price variance. Great, right? But wait, the text block mentions that the company recently switched to an overseas supplier with longer shipping times and notoriously low quality control. You have to synthesize this data. You write, while the cheaper material from the new supplier generated a favorable price variance, it directly caused an adverse usage variance because the factory floor was forced to scrap 15% of the defective inputs. Boom. That synthesis, that connection between the text and the table, that is exactly where the golden evaluative marks live.
System pause. We've got warning indicators flashing in the lab right now. Look, before we blast away the biggest exam lie of the century and show you the exact paragraph structure that actually wins marks, you need to secure your academic defense network. Take a breath, clear out all those bad assumptions, and make sure you subscribe to Ace the Exams and hit that notification bell. Honestly, whether you are tackling Cambridge IGCSE, O-levels, AS, or A-levels, you cannot let bad study advice compromise your final results. Secure your network, and let's get back to the stress test.
Let's move into Phase 4, Top 3 Examiner Warnings.
I am loading up the direct diagnostic data from the official Cambridge Principal Examiner reports. These are the top 3 marking penalties where standard costing answers just fatally break down. Mistake number 1, using the wrong approach for the wrong context. This means you start calculating subvariances when the prompt only required a high-level total variance discussion. You are just burning through your mark per minute budget for literally 0 reward. Mistake number 2, forgetting to check format and presentation. If you don't clearly label your variances as favorable or adverse, or if your layout looks like a chaotic abstract painting, examiners cannot and will not award method marks. They aren't going to hunt for your right answer. Mistake number 3, providing answers not specific to the context given. This is the ultimate volatility trigger, and we need to look at this one a lot closer.
I really need to hammer this home. This is the ultimate examiner alert. The quote says, "The classic mistake is providing generic answers not specific to the question context. Always link every point to the given scenario." This completely 100% busts the myth that you can copy-paste a pre-written viral essay template into your exam. I'm actually watching tester Alex and tester Sam at their consoles right now trying to write a paragraph. Alex wants to use his generic template. He's about to write, "An adverse usage variance is often caused by unexpected machine breakdown." It sounds plausible, right? But Sam stops him. Sam points out that the specific exam scenario on their screen explicitly states that the factory machines were brand new and perfectly maintained. If Alex had submitted that template answer, it would drop out of compliance immediately, 0 marks. Situational linkage is completely non-negotiable. If your answer could apply to any manufacturing company in the world, it is too generic. Finally, we pivot to phase 5, evaluative thinking and strategy. This is where we construct our high-scoring text block by welding our data perfectly to our analysis. To achieve top-tier marks in evaluation, you have to master the strict mechanics of comparative analysis. It is a 4-step engine. Step 1. Identify similarities and differences. Look closely at the interaction between the material price and the material usage. Did one go up while the other went down? Step 2. Use comparative connectives in your writing. I'm talking about words like however, conversely, in contrast. Using these words physically forces your brain to analyze the situation rather than just passively describing it. Step 3. Support absolutely every claim with specific numerical evidence from the data matrix sweep we did earlier. Don't just say costs fell. Say costs fell by $2.50 per kilogram. And step 4, draw a definitive conclusion about relative importance. Was the initial cost saving from buying cheaper material actually worth the operational damage caused by the massive adverse usage variance on the factory floor? Top-tier students don't just calculate, they question assumptions, they evaluate the quality of the evidence, and they make a justified commercial decision based on that data.
Now, right before you put your pen down and breathe a sigh of relief, you must run a post-writing final quality audit. Check your work. Are your formats perfectly aligned? Is your professional terminology totally locked in? Did you use terms like adverse, favorable, standard quantity, and actual price correctly, or did you mix them up? Furthermore, if you want to push into the absolute highest marking bands, you need to state the limitations of standard costing itself. Mention that standard costs might be completely outdated due to sudden market inflation, or point out that variances only show historical, backward-looking data and might not actually reflect future performance. Acknowledging these alternative interpretations proves to the examiner that you don't just know the math, you possess advanced, critical professional skills.
And there we have it. The myth status bar is officially flashing. The generic page-jumping templates are busted, and our structured, context-driven method is confirmed as the ultimate standard costing strategy. Remember the 3 universal truths we distilled from today's session? Always execute your 3-step command word scan, strictly stick to your mark per minute budget rule, and never skip your post-writing quality audit. Now, before we shut down the lab, I want to hear from you. What is the weirdest, most ridiculous exam hack or study shortcut you've seen floating around online? Drop it in the comments below so we can load it into the simulation and test it next time. Make sure your notifications are on for our next myth-busting masterclass, and I'll see you in the next session.